Hello everybody, welcome to Invisible Walls. This is your favorite Friday bit of delight. Actually, let's start that again because I almost said annoying gamer. I did that once. It's Friday, it's Invisible Walls. Welcome everybody, I am Marcus Beer. Got a good show today. We have two major topics that have been dominating the gaming news this week. And joining me, we have a totally remixed lineup. Next to me is our resident Assassin's Creed expert, Megan Rue.
Hello.
And we have a debut.
Hello.
It's Mike Huber, who's one of the interns here, and he's been slogging away on SimCity.
Yes.
And then in the corner, the voice of GameTrailers, Brandon Jones.
Hey.
All right, let's get cracking. And obviously, the first thing we're going to talk about is the really big gaming news of the week. The disaster that has been the SimCity launch. Obviously, the game's been available since the start of the week. You know, we got it at 9:01 Pacific time on Monday. And, you know, we'll talk about the game itself very shortly. But I've had issues with getting in. I had issues last night where I lost almost 2 hours worth of work because of a disconnect. Let me go around and ask who else has had issues with this since the game started this week.
Well, I was playing a bunch in the office, and ironically, I didn't really encounter that many disconnects or errors. Like, I tried to go online and play multiplayer for a little bit, and it kind of, it started out and then would boot me, and multiplayer was a little messed up, but other than that, didn't really have any login problems.
Well, and it was because of watching you be on all day long and then hearing all these reports of like, oh, it's impossible to get in. That's why I was like, all right, I got to see what this is like. And it was, 2.5 hours to download and update, another half hour to wait, and then it wasn't really clear about the servers. They were like, oh, available, but then you clicked on it, but because it wasn't North America, I was like, oh, no, you can't.
Well, I also found it strange that when I booted up on Monday, and the initial install was like 40 minutes from 9:01 to actually getting a full install going.
Right.
But it defaulted me to the Eastern European servers or the Western European servers, which I thought was a bit iffy. And I went and changed that right away because I don't want to be, no offense to my European friends, but I'd like to connect to a server in the continental US. But since I moved back to the US servers, yeah, it's been a joke connecting. The updates, and of course, EA have announced as we're filming this on Thursday that they are applying a hotfix, and for this hotfix to work, they are disabling aspects of the game, non-essential aspects. So I'm going to run through some of these, and please feel free to give me your feedback, because the first one that I found out they're disabling is kind of ridiculous because I like putting the game on cheater mode and wandering away and letting the money ramp up. But via a post on the EA forums this morning, cheater mode's gone. It's been disabled. Now, what's the logic in that? Can anybody give me the logic? I can't see it from a gameplay sense, from a tech sense. Why would they disable that?
I mean, maybe from a tech sense, it's because all the different elements that can be happening at the same time, like the game can't comprehend fast enough all the problems it's supposed to throw at you, maybe, but other than that, I've got no clue.
If the game was running on a PS2, I'd say fair enough, but I mean, it's running on a PC, and in most cases, it's running on a high-end PC because it is quite a meaty game. It does have the high specs. So first of all, to disable that is stupid.
I wonder how much of what you're doing affects other people, because I know they check that stuff, like if you have neighboring cities that do well enough. I'm saying this not because I played the game, but I literally just read the review script. But I wonder if it not only has to check what you're doing, but check how that's going to affect that neighbor, and then that's helping slow everything down. So that's got to be at a certain speed.
If you're on cheetah speed in this town, but everything else is moving at normal speed, it's causing a funnel.
Just that adds more stress on it than you would normally expect from just a regular PC game that's just trying to run a simulation.
Yeah, because when I got online and I went to other people's towns, I could adjust the speed. So I didn't know if that was adjusting their speed, because they were logged out too. It said last online like a day or two ago, and then I had free reign to just change the speed, and I didn't know if that was affecting.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. I mean, for me, it's not an issue because when I logged on, I basically annexed the whole region for myself and decided that I wanted to build my own little cities because, I don't really want to play a huge bunch of multiplayer until I'm totally engrossed in the game. But I think that's kind of silly. I mean, there are some of the features they've pulled, leaderboards, rankings. Some of the regional stuff is gone. One of the issues I've had, and I don't know, if you two have had this, the friends list hasn't worked. Every time, I've had friends online who've been letting me know that they're via Twitter or whatever, they've been shown as offline in the game. The invitation list It's like, yeah, we sent you an invite to come join our region. Nothing's come through. That's been balked since day one as well. So they really have just. Is this probably the worst games launch ever?
No, Final Fantasy 14 is probably the worst.
Well,
Because like you were saying, and we'll get to that. It is a good game. Like underneath that, whereas like 14 wasn't. I mean, there was not a lot evolved from that. Not to start a 14 discussion, but
When did 14 come out?
2 years ago, 2 years ago.
Okay, because
Yeah,
I mean,
I think-
obviously, I've kind of switched off anything with the words Final Fantasy. I go
We've
into a brain
Most of us
coma.
have tried to forget it. So
Well, I think part of the big shock was the fact that I wasn't looking at this launch as an MMO style launch with servers and multiplayer and friend lists and all this kind of stuff. I was like, it's Sim City. I'm going to log in and build a city, and then I find out it's completely different. It's servers. It's knowing your friends. It's making sure you're on the same servers, because if you build a city on this server, you can't get it on this server. And it's like I had to stop and go, okay, it is like an MMO. In that launch sense, in that login sense, and that kind of, I was like, okay, now if I'm looking at it like that, yeah, this is kind of typical for what happens to other MMOs, but it's SimCity.
But
Like,
it hasn't
is
been
there
treated.
something?
Yeah, it hasn't been treated,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
by by the press. I mean, EA hasn't really put this across as an MMO, and they've done some, let's face it, dubious stuff. They had their review event, was it last week or the week before, where they flew a lot of people up to Redwood, I think it was, put them in a room, let them play for a couple of days on Annex servers that were right there, and then even with the reviews that have hit, in time for launch. I mean, Mike, you were telling me that you've been playing, you've been playing in a special server and on the regular server. Is that right?
Yeah, it was the European, like you were talking about earlier, and there honestly, like I would have had no idea that all these issues were going down, because I barely got kicked or anything. And I mean, for yesterday, there was like a couple hour period where I think they were patching it and I couldn't get in. And this morning, I tried to log in and
That
there
20 minutes popped up.
There was like a
Yeah.
20-minute queue. But as of yesterday and the day before, I was pretty much on there all day.
Well, I don't know. Has the 20-minute thing happened to you twice in a row yet, or has it only just happened once and then you've gone? Because it's only ever happened to me once and then gone in. But that 20 minutes, like we were talking about this the other day, you can do a lot in 20 minutes. Like I got up and made dinner. I was reading a book. I was doing, like, I could have gone and done laundry. Like 20 minutes is a long time in gamer minutes.
A lot of people from my Twitter feed went and downloaded SimCity 2000 and played that while they were waiting to get in. But yeah, it is ridiculous. But I want to touch back to this review thing, because obviously there's been a little bit of controversy this week. Polygon gave it a 9.5 and then dinged the score because they'd initially been playing at a review event, then on a private server, and then when they went live, their reviewer couldn't actually access the game. And so they dinged it. I think they took a point or a pointer and a half off. And a lot of people have been bitching at them, and I got to say, I'm going to give them. And I don't know what the GT review score is. You're obviously working on on the script right now, but I think it was a bold move, and I think it's something that's long overdue, because that initial reaction out of the box is what you should have as a reviewer. I mean, that's why I don't like going to review events. I mean, I never get invited anyway, which is great. But I don't like playing, and again, as a PR person, I would hold review events for the reason that I could control the environment, I could control the experience. But I think now, because we're moving to digital distribution more and more, and this is a game that most people have actually tried to, bought online and downloaded, but not pre-downloaded. Good job, Origin. Because you're in this environment now that people shouldn't actually have had reviews going up probably until next week. And I think, it'll be interesting. Was it next week? We've got Heart of the Swarm coming from, or was it the StarCraft 2 expansion?
Yeah.
So let's see what happens there, because I think a lot of people who've been bitching at Polygon this week will be holding back their reviews for the next Blizzard game, especially after what we went through on Diablo, and we won't see reviews for that until launch.
Well, and I was talking to Matt about this, about the Polygon thing, another coworker of ours, and he was like, well, how is that fair? Because imagine if someone launched a game, or whatever game launched when the PSN network was down. What if people changed their scores because the PSN network was down because they couldn't log in? Well, it's not necessarily the game's fault that the servers weren't working at the time of when it's something obviously to comment on, but
it's not the
but
game.
it's different in
it's
this
not
sense
the game's
because it
fault,
is the same.
especially when it's it is a good game, but when you're looking at a publisher and a developer and a service that are all the same entity in Origin, Maxis, and Electronic Arts, that all-encompassing package does get lumped in together. And unfortunately, a game should be dinged. And all games, I mean, MMOs, a lot of people don't write reviews for MMOs for the first month now.
Right.
And, this should be perhaps the way forward, that guess what? There's no SimCity review on XYZ or no StarCraft 2 review, because we're going to give it a month and let's see how good it is. And I think that's the way forward. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see next week how many people don't have those day one reviews. And I don't think it's going to hurt the games. It actually might make it better, for the games in the long run, because people will realize if we don't have all our ducks in a row, we're going to get crucified, as some games from lesser publishers have been crucified in the past, way more than SimCity has in a lot of cases. But let's step away from the technical stuff, because as in any, you've got this shitstorm of crap and bile and monstrous connections that is Origin, but then when you burrow down, you have the gooey golden caramel center that is actually delicious. That is the game, and the game is a ton of fun. I mean, in my opinion, and I'm going to go to you first, Mike, because you have put in more time at on the game than anybody else in the office.
It's a really fun, really addicting. I mean, the account's not even mine, the game's not even mine. I'm just stuck over there, like I can't even move. Everyone's always making fun of me. Like the other interns, George came up and he's just like, "Man, you got the 5 o'clock shadow going. You're all hunched over." So it's definitely giving me a lot of fun.
It is a great SimCity game, and there are a lot of people. There are a couple of issues. I mean, first of all, I think the size of your town is really small, the way they annex it, and to me that is very irksome. But then looking at it from a bigger perspective, where you basically can lock off a whole region and you can create 4, 5, 6, 7 towns and your own great works, and that's basically your single player experience. That to me is great, because it does give you way more scope than the original SimCity, where you'd have, all right, this is my city and this is my little section here that I've got to keep away for all the industrial stuff.
Right.
Well, now, guess what? I'm creating a town, or I tried to create a town last night before losing it all, that was basically coal mining and low-income housing and, lots of pollution everywhere.
And then just outsourcing.
And then, outsource a lot of stuff and, have a central hub town that was more government-based with, the more schools and services where everything would just, head off like the center of the web. And that is really cool. I think that's a great addition. It's just a shame that you have to log in to get to that. Yeah. Megan, you've played it, a certain amount.
A certain amount, and I'm actually curious, did you ever play SimCity, what are the previous games that you've played?
Yeah,
the last one I played was 3000, so.
Yeah. There was 4, right?
Yeah, did you play 4?
I played 4, and I played the originals a little bit here and there when I was younger, but.
So there probably wasn't as much as a learning curve jump from 4 to this, whereas for myself, going from 3000 to the Facebook game to Sim Social and then going to this, it's like, okay, so this has a little bit more than this did, and the little things of the power and the waste and all that kind of being built into the roads, love that. Because I remember hating having to get your little power lines all over your city to get everything working. So, and then you talk about being able to, okay, this will be my industry town and this will be my educational town. I love that. I love that I don't have to make everything work in this tiny little square. But yeah, the Sim Social, I know Jones and Mark, we've all been playing with each other leading up to this as sort of a time waster.
Because we're Facebook friends. We're so friendly. But yeah,
you were saying it's kind of a test case.
It's almost as if the SimCity Social game has been a focus group test for things they can put into the new SimCity. And I mean, my biggest fear with SimCity, the new version from the get-go, was that it was going to be too simified, because while I have nothing but love for the SimCity franchise, I have nothing but bile and hatred for anything with the words Sims attached to it. I think that game is that's a horrible time waste where, I don't like reliving real life. I mean, I spent all that time killing my Sims. I've said that before, and I will do it again. But yeah, it feels like they've taken away a lot of the functionality, perhaps, that you had in the previous SimCity games, and taken the Facebook game almost as the basis for what you can do. I would have liked it to be a little more, perhaps, simmy. But it isn't hurting it too much right now. And
No.
obviously, once the connections are issues in it, and I have a region with 4 or 5 cities, and I'm building my great works, I'll probably be even more excited because there are more things to unlock, and the progression of how you unlock stuff is really cool. One of the things I do miss, is like almost like having scenarios, because
Oh, like the missions?
yeah,
They're there, but they're a little.
they're really
I
placeholder.
mean, I saw
They-
you had
they
like
feel
5 or 6 up at once.
They feel like the Facebook game missions where it is,
Yeah.
get to 5,000 people, plant, it's like open a new garbage dump.
Get
or
6.
Some of them are really simple. Some of them are long term. Like you can. I think you can only have like 3 at a time.
Yeah.
So you have to plan out because some of them will give you like a money reward, and that's in the beginning like you're kind of strapped for cash.
Yeah.
The Facebook game's kind of fun because they have holidays. I mean, like some of those missions are seasonal,
Yeah.
and that's fun.
Those
And,
were
and
fun,
if
yeah.
SimCity's such a socially, online aware game, I wonder if they're going to have any content like that.
I mean, it makes
or-
me wonder, since you have I haven't logged into multiplayer yet, but it makes me wonder, it's like, oh, I'm going to go drop a balloon of graffiti on this random person's, like, what can you do to people's towns?
Well,
Can you
if
actually
you're-
mess with them, or?
Well, if you're in a big game and someone is relying on your town for power, and you bulldoze your your own power plant,
Or
then
you
they're
can jack up the prices as
You
well.
can
I mean,
jack up the prices.
selling ore to people, and there's the global marketplace.
you can do a lot of sabotage.
I think there's going to be a lot of that stuff. I think we'll see that because they want this to be an online social ecosystem of a game. But I think that's where the dreaded microtransaction word is going to come in. I mean, we know they released was it 3 city packs day one: Germany, France, the UK, London.
Yeah.
And they were like $9.99 a pop, which were a little expensive. But I'm guessing that yes, we will see a
That's where
Thanksgiving
it'll
one.
be.
We'll see Christmas or whatever.
I'm wondering too if on expansions they could up the Sims-ish, have an expansion of people around in your city, or
Don't give them ideas. I will find you. I will hunt you down. Please ignore that suggestion. Electronic Arts not interested. But look, again, I've got no problem with DLC that is enhances the game, and if they want to add new stuff or expand the boundaries or whatever, I'm happy to pay for that in a timely manner. If they start dropping microtransactions every week, like if you want to connect to a server, it's going to cost you $1, which is probably on the cards. That's gonna drive me bonkers. But I think we'll probably have another discussion about SimCity in about a month. Give you a chance to play it, Mr. Jones. But yeah, we'll come back to this, I think, in a month, see where it is, because this could be the end of SimCity, this particular game, if they don't sort it out. And it'd be a tragedy, because it's a great game.